In this video, I'm going to show you how being arrogant and egotistical is killing your chances of success and give you 5 tips to ensure you aren't being arrogant and egotistical when working with others. So let's get to it. Hey, and welcome to Music Space, where we help working musicians just like you learn how to quickly and easily make a living with your craft. So if you're new here to the channel, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when new videos are uploaded. Okay, so quick roll call. If you're watching this video and you're arrogant and egotistical, raise your hand. Anybody? Anybody? Now I'm willing to bet that you didn't raise your hand. Why? Because nobody thinks they're arrogant or egotistical. And even if they did think they were, they probably wouldn't admit it. Nevertheless, arrogance and egotism is something that runs rampant in the music industry. And if you've been in the music industry any considerable amount of time, I'm willing to bet that you've run across at least a few people who are very arrogant and egotistical that you just really didn't enjoy working with. Now, it's also true that most of us musicians have, at least at one point or another, been accused of being arrogant and egotistical. And I think that's simply because people tend to mistake arrogance with confidence. And we'll discuss confidence in a future video. But we have to be really careful about our attitudes when dealing with and working with other people. And, that's what we essentially do as musicians. We work with other people. Now, I get it. We have a lot of pressure on us to be great. And I discussed this in a prior video, which I'll link a card above for you to check that video out. But it's really easy to fall into that arrogance territory to try to measure up and compensate for thinking we're not the best or thinking we're not great. But your attitude and your disposition is a huge factor in determining your success. Because what happens is when you're arrogant, people talk about you behind your back. They talk to others about how much of a misery it is to work with and deal with you. And that snowballs into having this reputation of people not wanting to deal with and work with you at all. And then so when situations arise where people have to work with you, they nitpick everything about you. And they tend to do this behind your back, but they point out all of your mistakes that you make, if you're on stage playing as a musician. You don't get the pass to make mistakes like other people get those passes. People nitpick those things about you because you're Mr. or Mrs. Arrogant, right? You're perfect. You know everything. So people tend to think about you and look at you in that manner. And of course, these things ultimately keep you from things like making more money, getting more opportunities, which again holds you back from success. So it's really important that we keep our attitudes and dispositions focused on working well with each other and, enjoying each other's company in this creative space as musicians. So with that said, let's jump into the 5 tips that's going to help you ensure that you aren't being arrogant and egotistical. So the first tip is plan your attitude. Now, this tip is really about being proactive and kind of thinking about how you want to be when you interact with others. What you essentially want to do is think about your overall disposition and your attitude when you walk into a room with other people or when you're interacting with other people in any kind of way. So when you walk into a room and meet the band members or something for the first time, or you're seeing them, after an extended period, are you going to smile? Are you going to be welcoming? Are you going to have a warm and friendly attitude? These are the types of things you want to plan ahead of time. And when I say plan, I'm basically just talking about thinking about these things in your mind, not necessarily writing them down. You just want to have sort of a mental picture of those things in your mind. And this doesn't have to be complicated at all. It's really just about the basic things. When you walk up to shake someone's hand, or of course, because of COVID, when you give somebody the elbow, but when you walk up to give somebody the elbow, how are you going to greet them? What are the things that you're going to do in your interactions with other people? Like after the gig is over, are you going to just like walk out and walk away like I did my job and I showed up and everybody else is, beneath me kind of attitude? Or will you, just stick around a little bit and say, hey, good job, everybody, shake everybody's hand, or of course, give them the elbow and, say, hey, if you guys need me again, give me a call. This is my number. This is my email address, or whatever the case may be. Those kind of things and those kinds of attitudes are more inviting and make you seem less arrogant. Now, before we jump into the next tip, if you're getting value out of this video so far, do me a favor and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, because that lets me know you appreciate this type of content. Now, the next tip is you want to offer compliments. And this is really the antithesis of arrogance and egotism. Arrogant and egotistical people rarely give compliments to other people because it's a more self-centered attitude. Egotism and arrogance is about self and about look at me. So a person with that mindset is not going to be thinking about or just giving other people compliments because that takes the focus off of them. And when I say offer compliments, I don't necessarily mean only compliments in words. You can do things like simply be respectful. Open the door for, the person that's walking beside you when you get to the door. If someone on stage needs some water, grab a water bottle and hand them some water. Help some of the other musicians load their equipment off the stage or, pack it up or load it to their car. These are the type of actions and complimentary behaviors that not only make you seem not arrogant, but actually make you be not arrogant. Now, the next tip is you want to share the spotlight. Now, as I stated earlier, arrogant and egotistical people make things about them. So when the spotlight is on them, it's all me, me, me. So again, this is another tip that's sort of the antithesis of being arrogant and egotistical. And this is really great because you can do it either in big or subtle ways. So you can simply do things like respond in kind when people offer you a compliment. So for example, you have a show and you do your first set and you go on break. And while you walk into the break room, the singer says, "Hey man, you were really killing it on the keys." You can respond with something like, "Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. But I'm only killing it on the keys because I'm so inspired by your vocals or you guys' flavor," or something like that. You see how that's sort of sharing the spotlight? Someone placed the spotlight on you and then you decided to share that spotlight and say, it's not just about me. I'm inspired by you. I'm killing it because, you are singing so well, or you guys are, your flavor and your groove and something is, or anything like that is just, inspiring me so much. It's making me kill it on keys. That's sharing the spotlight. See how that works? And of course, you can even do this musically with things like sharing solos on the stage. Don't take a, 10 or 15 minute solo. Share some of your solo time with some of the other musicians, or, in a spot where you would normally take a solo, call on the guitar player or call on the, keyboard player or the bass player to take a solo. Say, "Oh man, I was really interested in hearing you," or, I wanted to hear some scatting from you, the vocalist, or anything like that. So you're, again, sharing that spotlight. And again, arrogant people don't do stuff like that. Okay, so the next tip is you want to admit your mistakes. Now, this is kryptonite to arrogance. It's virtually impossible to be viewed as arrogant, and more importantly, actually be arrogant when you're aware of your mistakes and you admit them. Because one of the vices of arrogant and egotistical people is they tend to blame others and put fault on others. If something goes wrong or if there's a mistake that happens, it's not my fault. I'm the arrogant one. You should have done this and you should have said that and you should have done it this way. Or if it's in a musical setting, like on stage, it's, "Oh, I messed up because you did something wrong. You played the bass note wrong, so I couldn't get my chords on the keyboard right." Or the drummer, he's off timing and he's off grooving, so he's messing up my solo. So they're pointing at the other musicians and people on stage for their faults and their mistakes and their mess ups. So it's actually really simple. Admitting your mistakes absolutely puts you in that non-arrogant territory. So if you mess up, fess up. One of the things that I do if we're on stage and I make a mistake, play a wrong chord while I'm on keys, or if I'm, playing a wrong note while I'm on bass, something happens and everybody looks and say, "Oh my God, what happened?" Hey, it was me. I got it. It was my mistake. And what that actually does is it helps you acknowledge your mistakes and makes you aware of them. So next time it actually won't happen again. Because what happens in your mind when you're blaming others for your mistakes, that gives your mind the cue that, hey, everything is not my fault. So when you go home, you don't have anything to work on. It's everybody else, which of course makes you stagnant and you never improve or get better. And that brings me to the next tip. What you want to do is ask for feedback. Arrogant and egotistical people don't think they need feedback. And what this tip really is about is showing that you have room for improvement, which we all do. Showing and displaying this sentiment, to others and asking them for feedback and asking them for help allows them to actually see your value. They start to see you as a person who is already great, but wants to get better and wants to improve. And no one seen that way is rarely also seen as arrogant and egotistical. And this tip has the added benefit of giving you something to get better at. So, you can use the feedback that you get from other people to gauge your success, to say, hey, these are things that I can work on when I get home in my practice time. These are the areas of focus that I may not have been as strong in as I thought. So these are the things that I can work in. So when I show up next time, I've improved, and people are saying, oh yeah, that thing I told you last time, man, you killed it this time. And then that gets you to this path of people seeing your progress of success, which again can lead to things like you leveling up in your positions and asking for raises and things like that. So you see how all of this stuff kind of ties together? So all in all, there's really no need to be arrogant. I understand where it comes from. I understand in our industry as musicians and artists, there's this thing about wanting to be great and being seen a certain way, and showing up like that, kind of gives you this temporary boost of ego and confidence and allows people to sort of see you in a certain way. But it's very short-lived, and in the long run, it makes people not want to work with you. It makes people talk about you behind your back, and those type of things ultimately hold you back from success. So question, have you been perceived as arrogant and egotistical? Or have you recognized that you actually are arrogant and egotistical? If you are, it's okay. We all deal with these things from time to time, and it's about getting better. But jump down in the comment section and let me know your thoughts about that, and let me know your experiences. I definitely want to know. And listen, thank you so much for watching this video, and make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.